the invisible force that can destroy everything, from the hardest diamond to the mightiest mountains. Yet, in the shadowy depths of ancient tombs, where the frigid air is thick with the breath of death, a terrifying mystery still lingers. The bodies remain undecomposed, perfectly preserved for hundreds of years, with soft skin, flexible joints, and even emitting a strange fragrance, completely defying the natural decay process of the human body. No chemicals used, no preservation techniques applied, all defy the laws of nature. That is their only common trait. All are saints honored by the Church, but what has preserved their bodies from the ravages of time? Is it the miracle of faith, or a supernatural mystery that even science must bow to? Among those cases, the body of Saint Bernadette is considered one of the most extraordinary phenomena. What did the doctors discover when examining Saint Bernadette's body? Let's uncover this mysterious and shocking truth. Saint Bernadette was born on January 7, 1844, in Lourdes, a small town in France. As the eldest child in a poor family, she had frail health, little education, and frequently suffered from asthma and other illnesses. In 1858, at just 14 years old, she witnessed the Virgin Mary appear 18 times at the Mummified grotto in Lourdes. In her apparitions, the Virgin Mary identified herself as the Immaculate Conception and conveyed to her the message of diligent prayer, sincere repentance, and steadfast faith. At first, her account was met with skepticism by many, but the strange phenomena at Lourdes, especially the emergence of a spring from the ground, rumored to have healing powers, quickly drew the attention of both the Church and the public. After her apparitions, she decided to join the Sisters of Charity in Nevers in 1866, living a humble, quiet life devoted to service. Here, she worked as an assistant in the convent's hospital. Despite battling numerous illnesses, Saint Bernadette passed away on April 16, 1879, at the age of 35, after enduring her sufferings with steadfast and unshaken faith. She was beatified in 1925 and canonized as a saint by the Pio XI Church in 1933. The body of Saint Bernadette, though many years have passed, remains nearly perfectly preserved and is currently displayed at the St. Gildard Chapel in Nevers. Each year, this site attracts millions of faithful and visitors who come to venerate it, making it a symbol of faith and a remarkable phenomenon in religious history. The most astonishing thing is that the saint's body remains intact despite the passage of time, a phenomenon beyond all current scientific explanation. Anyone who has ever visited the chapel of the monastery and paused before the body of Saint Bernadette, even for just a few minutes, cannot help but be moved by the beauty and grace that God has bestowed upon his most humble servant. It is hard to remain indifferent before such an extraordinary, almost surreal phenomenon, the body of Saint Bernadette, as if submerged in an eternal slumber across the centuries. Saint Bernadette passed away on April 16, 1879. Her funeral was held 3 days later, attended by a large number of faithful followers. Everyone wishes to bid farewell to the person who witnessed the apparition of Our Lady of Lourdes. Although Saint Bernadette lived in the monastery for merely 13 years, a relatively short period, she left behind countless profound spiritual lessons for the community here. It can be said that Saint Bernadette deeply imprinted her image in the minds and hearts of the convent's sisters. And not only that, all who were fortunate enough to meet her confirmed they had witnessed a real-life miracle with their own eyes. Saint Bernadette was beatified in 1925 and canonized on December 8, 1933, on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. Beside the remains of Saint Bernadette is a plaque inscribed with the following words: "The body of Saint Bernadette has been laid to rest in the chapel since August 3, 1925. The body remained intact as if fossilized, which was confirmed by forensic doctors along with civil and religious authorities during exhumations in the years 1909, 1919, and 1925. The face and hands, naturally darkened from exposure to the air, were coated with a thin layer of wax, shaped from molds taken directly from real people. The body leaning to the left is the natural position in which Saint Bernadette lay in the tomb. Through 3 separate excavations, researchers confirmed that the body remained intact and undamaged. After the final exhumation, the body of Saint Bernadette was placed in a crystal coffin by the Sisters of Nevers and has remained perfectly preserved to this day. Now, let us hear the assessments from the doctors in charge of examining the body of the saint. The first excavation was conducted on September 22, 1900, 30 years after her death. This medical examination was conducted under the guidance of two doctors, David and Jordan. These individuals have solemnly sworn that they will report honestly, stating only the truth in their conclusions upon completing the investigation. According to the medical report, when the boulder was moved away from the tomb, the coffin was immediately revealed. The coffin was then moved into a room, placed on two stands draped with white cloth. Beside it was a white draped table, intended to hold the relics of Saint Pennies. The wooden coffin had its nails removed, then the inner layer of planks was opened further. When the coffin of the last saintess was opened, the sight inside left everyone stunned, far beyond all imagination. The body of Saint Pennies remains nearly intact, perfectly preserved, as fresh as if it had just been laid to rest. The doctors confirmed that there was absolutely no sign of any foul odor. The nuns who buried the saint 30 years ago noticed that her hands were slightly tilted to the left. The doctor's forensic report clearly states the following. In the presence of the bishop and the mayor of the city of Nevers, the coffin was opened. High-ranking officials, many monks, and even us. We didn't smell any unpleasant odors. The body of the saint was clothed in the habit of the Pennies convent. This garment is damp, revealing only the face, hands, and forearms. The saint's head is slightly tilted to the left, her face pale and ashen. The skin clings tightly to the muscle, and the muscle wraps snugly around the bone. The eyelids cover the eye sockets. Long, slender lashes that lie close to the skin and follow the natural curve of the eye. The eyelashes on the right eyelid are still stuck to the skin, with a slightly foul and pungent smell. The mouth was slightly parted, revealing a set of intact teeth. The arms crossed over the chest remain perfectly preserved, even the fingernails are still intact. The hands still clutch the rust-colored rosary tightly, while the veins on the back of the hands stand out prominently. The saint's feet were as wrinkled as her hands, yet her toenails remained perfectly flawless. While washing vigorously, a fingernail came off. The hair, though cut short, still clung closely to the scalp, tightly hugging the skull. The hands remain perfectly preserved, while the lower left side of the body protrudes higher than the right, creating a noticeable unevenness from the pink area upward. The abdomen of the corpse had collapsed, hardened like the rest of the body. When touched, the abdomen feels as hard as wood. The left knee is slightly smaller than the right knee. The ribs were starkly visible, so emaciated that the limbs appeared tightly constricted. The body was so stiff that it couldn't move or turn for cleaning. The lower part of the body is slightly darker, likely due to coal dust sticking to it. With a large quantity discovered in the coffin, this is the report that was compiled and verified in Nevis on September 22, 1909. The body of Saint Bernadette was exhumed for the first time under the supervision of two doctors, Nevis and Jordan, one a physician, the other a surgeon. Afterward, the nuns washed the body and placed it in a new zinc-lined coffin covered with white cloth. However, just a few hours after exposure to the air, dark spots began to appear on the body. The double-layered coffin was then sealed shut, welded closed, tightly fastened with screws, and secured with 7 seals. The worker returned the saint's remains to the tomb. 10 years later, on April 3, 1919, another autopsy was performed to verify the identity of Saint Bernadette. This time, the examinations were conducted by Doctors Taylor and Rowe Comte. This entire process took place under the witness of Bishop Nevis, the police chief, along with many representatives of the local government and the ecclesiastical court. The body of Saint Bernadette remains intact as it was during the first examination. After canonization, the crypt was opened and the remains were transferred to a new coffin, then reburied in accordance with both church regulations and civil law. After examining the corpse, the doctors withdrew to Viet's private room to write their personal reports. You two did not exchange or consult each other's opinions. This report was entirely done by yourselves. At the same time, this also aligns with the doctor's report from the 1909 excavation. Dr. Comte noticed that when the coffin lid was opened, the corpse emitted no odor whatsoever. Dr. Taylor elaborated in more detail that there were absolutely no signs of decay, and no one in the room felt any discomfort. Both confirmed that the skeleton remained intact and that the body could be easily moved onto the table without any hindrance. They noticed that the skin had been lost in some areas, but still covered most of the body. This further affirms the extraordinary incorruptibility of the saintess, as some tendons remain clearly visible. As remains were interred at St. Joseph, the child's mother, proctor, and the police chief. Here are some excerpts from Dr. Kopmay's report, where he wrote, "I took 2 more pieces of kneecap, the skin still firmly attached and covered with a thin layer of clinging calcium. Finally, I trimmed a portion of the muscle tissue on the right and left outer sides of the tail. These organs are also in very good condition. Through this examination, I confirm that the remains of Saint Benedict are still intact. The complete skeleton, with joints detached yet still well preserved. Only the part of the skin that shrank seemed to be affected by the body's moisture. The body showed no signs of decomposition or any decay, although this is considered normal after lying in the red dreamland for a long time and being buried underground." This report was signed by Dr. Ro Kopta in Nevers on April 3, 1919. In 1925, the third and final opening took place. The purpose this time is to collect relics from the remains of Saint Benedict the female. Dr. Kopta was asked to perform the procedure once again. After completing the surgical procedures, the body was embalmed, with the face and hands being restored. Benedict's body was then placed back in the coffin but remained open, not fully sealed. At this moment, the saintess's face was meticulously sculpted by the Pierre Imans Company in Paris. A thin wax mask layer can be created between the sample roll and some official images of the saint. This is a common practice when handling relics in France, as there is concern that even if the remains are carefully preserved, but his sun-darkened skin, deep-set eyes, and broken nose might leave a negative impression on the public. The face and hands were made to serve the burial of the body. In 1928, after 3 years, Dr. Kopta published the exhumation report of Tranfuac Benedict's remains. In the second issue and newsletter of the Our Lady of Lourdes Medical Council, from page 33 to page 46. The report focuses on the condition of Aunt High Benedict. Below are 2 key paragraphs I want to highlight. I intend to open the left side of my chest to take a rib as a relic, then remove the heart, believing it remains perfectly intact. However, accessing the heart without causing serious damage to the surrounding structures is extremely difficult. Since the Mother Superior wishes to preserve the saint's heart along with her body, and the bishop has not made any specific request regarding this matter. So, I abandoned the idea of cutting the left side against the grain and only took the bone from the right side, where it was easier to handle. What impressed me most about this examination was the skeleton's perfect state of preservation. Just like the fabric and fiber models, they still maintain their flexibility and durability. The unexpected integrity of the ligatures and the skin layer, along with the perfect condition of the liver after 46 years since the saint's passing, is something far beyond all predictions. The liver is a soft and fragile organ that quickly deteriorates and hardens like limestone when damaged. I clearly explained this to everyone present and emphasized that this is not a natural phenomenon. After the exhumation ceremony was completed, a special crystal coffin was crafted to hold the remains of Saint Bernadette. The coffin was then taken to the chapel of Saint Gilda's Church, located in the convent of the Sisters of Northern Novice. Since August 3, 1925, the saint's remains have been preserved intact here. The novice Northern Love nuns did not conceal the saint's body. They not only warmly welcome visitors but also inspire everyone to reflect on life's